Hello, my dear children. Welcome to the mathematics class. Today, we are going to discuss probability. In the previous class, we have discussed linear equations in two variables and the concepts of linear equations in two variables. We have discussed and we have solved the problems related to the linear equations in two variables. I hope you have understood the concepts of linear equations in two variables. I hope you have learnt well the problems based on the linear equations in two variables. Haven't you, my dear children? Right. Now come to this new chapter, probability. Exercise 15.1 concepts. Now we are going to discuss the concepts of exercise 15.1. Are you ready to listen the class? Right. See the first point. In our daily life, we come across statements as it will probably rain. Okay, my children. Second, see say second statement. I doubt that he will pass the test. Third example, third statement, most probably Kavita will stand first in the annual examination. And fourth statement, chances are high that the prices of diesel will go up. Fifth statement, there is a 50-50 chance of India winning a toss in today's match. If you observe these statements, there is a common word, probably, doubt, most probably, chances, chance. All these words denote the uncertainty. We don't know whether it will happen or will not happen. We don't know. Uncertainty. Okay, my children. The words probably, doubt, most probably, chances, etc. used in the statements above involve an element of uncertainty. Okay, my children, understood this point. The common word is uncertainty. In all these statements, all these words denote the same uncertainty. Means we don't know that will happen or will not happen. Uncertainty means we don't know whether it happens or will not happen. The uncertainty of probability, etc., can be measured numerically by means of probability. Okay, my children, here we are measuring the uncertainty numerically. Okay, my children, we are studying this uncertainty numerically by means of probability. Okay, my children, understood this point? Right. So, probability started with gambling. Do you know what is meant by gambling means? Okay, my children, what do you meant by gambling? Yes, betting money. Betting money on the result of a card game or horse, etc. Okay, my children, gambling means betting money on the result of a card game and horses, etc. It has been used extensively in the fields of physical sciences, commerce, biological science, medical science, weather forecasting, etc. In many branches of sciences and commerce also. Okay, my children, the probability, the concept of probability are using here now. Now onward, nowadays we are using the concept of probability in all these fields. Okay, my children, understood this point. That is why we are studying the concept of probability. Now come to the second point, probability, an experimental approach. What is meant by an experimental approach? In earlier classes, you have had a glimpse of probability. You have a short view, a small knowledge, a short knowledge of probability. When you have performed experiments like tossing of coins, throwing of dice, etc. By performing these experiments, you have calculated probabilities of events, as are no, my children, and observed their outcomes. You have observed what are the outcomes. Yes. You will now learn to measure. Now we are going to calculate the chance of occurrence of a particular outcome in an experiment. Okay, my children. In the earlier classes, you have written the outcomes when the experiment is performed. What are the outcomes? Okay, my children. But now in this class, we are going to calculate, we are going to measure the chance of occurrence of a particular outcome. Okay, my children, means we are going to calculate the probability of a particular outcome in an experiment. Understood this point, my children? Right. Now come to the third point. The concept of probability developed in a very strange manner. Here we are going to discuss the history of the probability, how it is developed. Okay, my children, in this point we are going to discuss the concept of probability, history of the concept of probability. In 1654, a gambler, Chevalier de Mier, approached the well-known 17th century French philosopher and mathematician Blaise Pascal regarding certain dice problems. A gambler, okay, mentioned, he approached French mathematician and philosopher Blaise Pascal, okay, mentioned, regarding certain dice problems. Pascal became interested in these problems and studied them and discussed them with another French mathematician, Pierre de Fermat. Okay, mentioned, he discussed with another French mathematician to solve the problems. Okay, my children, both Pascal and Fermat solved the problems independently. This work was the beginning of probability theory. Okay, my children, this is the first work for the beginning of the probability theory. The first book on the subject was written by Italian mathematician J. Cardan. The title of the book was Book on Games of Chance. Okay, my children, its name is Liber de Ludo Elia, published in 1663. Okay, my children, notable contributions were made by mathematicians J. Bernoulli, P. Laplace, A. Markov, and A. N. Kolmogorov. These are the mathematicians contributed in developing the theory of probability. Okay, my children. Now come to the fourth point, trial. What is meant by a trial? A trial is an activity which results in one or several outcomes. Okay, my children, this is the definition of a trial. To understand this definition of a trial, let us take an example. See the example 1. Tossing a coin is a trial in which head and tail are possible outcomes. Okay, my children, this is a trial. Tossing a coin is said to be a trial. And what are the possible outcomes? Head or tail are possible outcomes. Similarly, let us take another example. Throwing a die is a trial in which one of the numbers in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 coming up are possible outcomes. In this experiment, throwing a die is a trial. So, in this trial, these are the outcomes. The numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 coming up. Okay, my children, understood this point? Right. Now come to the fifth point, event. What is meant by an event? An event for an experiment is the collection of some outcomes of the experiment. Event. We are going to discuss event. The definition of event is an event for an experiment is the collection of some outcomes of the experiment. To understand this definition of an event, let us take an example. In the trial of tossing a coin, getting a head is an event with outcome head. Okay, my children, that is said to be an event. Getting a head is one event. getting a tail is said to be one event. Understood this point, my children? Similarly, let us take another example. In the trial of throwing a die, if we are throwing a die, getting an even number with outcomes 2, 4 or 6 is an event. In this event, what are the possible outcomes 2, 4 and 6? Because the event is defined as getting an even number. Here event is defined as in the throwing a die, getting an even number is an event. It is defined like this. That is why the possible outcomes in the event is 2, 4 and 6. Understood this point, my dear children? Right. Now come to the sixth point, experimental probability, and this is also called empirical probability. Okay, my children, to find the empirical probability or experimental probability, what is the formula? In this point we are going to discuss. Okay, my children, let n be the total number of trials. The empirical probability P of E. Okay, Mitchell, this is a notation to denote the empirical probability of an event E happening. Okay, my children, is given by P of E is equal to number of trials in which the event happened by total number of trials. This is the formula. Okay, my children, remember this formula. P of E denotes the empirical probability of an event happening is equal to number of trials in which the event happened to whole divided by the total number of trials. Okay, my children, remember this formula. Memorize this formula, my children. In this chapter, we shall be finding the empirical probability, though we will write probability for convenience. So we are using this word only, not empirical probability. We are not using empirical probability. In the place of empirical probability, just we use the word probability only. Okay, my children, for our convenience. The empirical probability depends on the number of trials undertaken and the number of times the outcomes you are looking for coming up in these trials. Okay, my children. Here this formula is explained here. Okay, my children. Now come to the seventh point. The probability of an event lies between 0 and 1. 0 and 1 inclusive. Okay, my children. If you find the probability of any event, if the probability of any event lies between 0 and 1. Sometimes it may be 0 and sometimes it may be 1, and sometimes between 0 and 1 means you can get 0 0.1, 0 0.2 like this. Okay, my children, understood this point? Right. Now come to the point number 8. If E1, E2, E3 and so on En are all possible outcomes of a trial, then P of E1 plus P of E2 means probability of E2 plus probability of E3 plus and so on, probability of En is equal to 1. It means the sum of all the probabilities of events equal to 1. Okay, my children, remember this point. Now come to the ninth point. Probability of the happening of an event plus probability of non-happening of an event is equal to 1. Okay, my children, remember these points well. We are using these points in solving the problems in the exercise. Okay, my children, right. Come to the point number 10. The probability of an event which is sure to happen is 1. The probability of a sure event is equal to 1. Okay, my children. Similarly, the probability of an impossible event is 0. Okay, my children. Right. Now come to the 12th point. Probability of an event is never negative. Previously we had discussed the probability of an event lies between 0 and 1. Inclusive 0 and 1. Okay, my children. Therefore, the probability of an event never a negative number. Okay, my children. Right. These are the points. These are the concepts of this exercise 15.1. Once you go through the textbook, my dear children, in the next class we start the sums in the exercise 15.1. In the meantime, all of you read all these points, memorize these points well, understand these points well, learn these points well. Okay, my children, right.